the room looked like it was raided when the police like went through and found the body. His face was head down in his wheelchair, right?
He was in a wheelchair too?
He was not well.
But he strangled himself with a catheter cord?
With no fingers.
What's up, guys? If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Also, please smash that like button on the video and enjoy the show. Physical possibility that they have had access to for a very long time. And, like, not to go full tinfoil hat here, but we know, for example, that in World War II, which was a wild shit show at the end of it, after it ended, you know, we know that the Nazi rocket program was pretty insane. Mm-hmm. Now, how insane? That's up for debate. You know, it could just be like it was insane for the time, and like, you know, we're way past that now. But these are the guys that ended up getting us on the moon, you know, the Operation Paperclip and all that stuff.
Yep.
So you have
Werner von Braun.
Right, exactly. You have to wonder if there was some IP, given how widespread Operation Paperclip was, where they were taking Nazi scientists, essentially, if you haven't seen
the best
that.
and brightest, yeah.
Right, right. Given how widespread that was, you have to wonder if there was some form of IP that was then brought in through them that has transformed into this whole thing. But what fascinates me about it is that, and you actually laid this out in your documentary too, and we'll get to those specific stories, but some of the mainstream, like, more UFO sighting, tic-tac type stories, things like that, were happening right after World War II, right? Like military bases in the late 40s, early 50s as well. There's one story that's a little crazy where they talk about Washington, D.C. And then you don't
the flyover, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You don't hear, like, there's stories throughout the 20th century, don't get me wrong, but you don't hear as many stories like that with that type of sighting. And then you see the 2004 sightings, whether it be Fravor, Graves, and what they saw,
right?
And they actually got it. Like, that's what I love about Fravor. He's like, here's the video. You tell me, right? Like, I'm just, look, this is what I saw. It went boop, boop, boop. Like, this doesn't make sense. Doesn't seem like it's of this earth to me, but you tell me.
Yeah.
Right? And when I saw that, that really changed the game for me, because I'm like, okay, it could be DARPA, but that shit's crazy.
Yeah, well, you have to thank Lou Elizondo for that video. I know that you.
Yeah, that's fair. Explain
like
that.
I mean, the thing is, everybody gets on these. He's a co-intel guy, and you know, evil and whatever. But it's like,
I didn't call him evil.
No, I know. I'm just. There are people though.
They do,
right, in the community, and the thing that everybody just looks right past is that Christopher Mellon and Lou Elizondo leaked those videos. They saw those videos. So again, you go back to the DHS agent, right? They see something and they go, what the fuck is that? Right? And they go, okay, I want to see if I can get this out. That's what happened technically to Christopher Mellon. He goes, what the fuck is that? And he goes, I got to get this out. Lou, let's get these out. And they use Two Stars Academy and they start getting them out, right? As safe as they can without breaking the law and getting thrown in jail, because classified information will, you know, Mark D'Antonio talks about that in this documentary. That,
the MUFON guy?
Yeah. The, like, astronomer.
Right.
So it's a non-jail time agreement is what he says, right? He doesn't want to break his oath and explain information about a mission that was classified. But he wants to talk generally about what he can say that will not reveal information that will get him in trouble. And so, anyways, I just jumped around a bunch there. But what I'm saying is Lou Elizondo and Christopher Mellon, I think they started off with a very altruistic motive there. They wanted to see how the world would react if they knew that there are things flying in our skies that outmaneuver our state-of-the-art craft, known, and what is it? Are we alone in the universe, right? So part of that, like, experience you had post-2017, that ontological shock, which is like, whoa, you're searching, right? You're searching. I had that really early on in my adulthood. Like I was probably 20, 21, working a dead-end job at an insurance sales company
It's
in
always
Toronto.
what it is, insurance sales.
Oh my God. I was like, I can't do this. I'm a piece of trash. But so I would come back from work and I was already kind of on the UFO bandwagon. I was already interested in that stuff. I had reached out privately to guys like Jose Escamilla, who's no longer with us, but he was making UFO documentaries back when James Fox first started, right? James did Beyond the Blue and stuff like that. He's very aware of who Jose Escamilla did, what he was working on, right? And
You're making James sound like he's 90. Poor guy.
nah. He looks good for his age.
He looks great.
But so essentially, I was already interested in this, and I was making my inroads to investigating on my own and trying to get to know people and get testimony and all that stuff. And I worked on my very first documentary I ever did was based off of the Phil Schneider testimony. I don't know if you ever looked into this guy.
Phil Schneider, maybe. Let's pull it up.
He was a dude that was hitting like Bigfoot conferences and UFO conferences back in the day in like the early 90s, talking about deep underground military bases and the idea that these were housing clandestine technology. Yeah, the underground. So I did this documentary called The Underground.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and
that's the guy.
That's the dude.
Yeah, I never seen him.
He's famous for like holding up his hand. Joe Rogan is like totally dunked on this guy. Like, oh, he must have done DMT or something. That's crazy. But yeah, he's famous for like holding up his hand mid lecture, and he's missing like a bunch of fingers on one hand. He said that he got into a battle with aliens. Like, see, he's trying to do up his collar. He can't because he's missing like his pinky and ring finger.
I want what he had.
But he's a captivating speaker, and at the time I was dating this girl that was like, "Have you ever heard of Phil Schneider?" And I'm like, "No." She's like, "He said he got into a battle with underground aliens when they were trying to build a military base." And I was like, "What?" Like just all these mind explosions. I was like, "What? Tell me more." And like,
he's the boy who lived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he lived to see another day and told these tales, and but I don't think what he said is 100% true.
Right.
I think what happened was some of the stuff he touched on was true, which is that we do have deep underground military bases, and his dad possibly was brought over as a German scientist to work for the American.
Oh, his dad.
His dad was Otto Schneider.
Yeah.
And so I think there is some truth to some of the things that Phil Schneider was discussing.
Whoa.
And whether he killed himself or he got killed, that's what people argue about. Because what happened was, not too long after he was really hitting these lectures, building a grassroots movement, he was found in a motel room with his own catheter cord wrapped around his throat, and he was dead. So,
Catheter cord wrapped around his throat.
Well, initially, they didn't see it because of the swelling. They thought it was
Yeah.
a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
No.
Isn't that
They didn't
right?
see
No,
it.
they thought he just died from a heart attack. It was not
The
till
catheter cord around his neck.
well, because he was a little bit overweight, and so his throat. Imagine you've got this like rubber cord, but then your throat and your under your chin here is kind of like swollen and sitting over top of it.
Oh, he had a couple chins.
He had a couple chins,
Right.
Probably.
That's how it goes.
But I put like the autopsy report and the photos from his autopsy in the documentary. They were given to me by Phil's late wife, Cynthia Dreyer. She just wanted his story to be told. And it's a really crazy story in the UFO community. So I wanted to cover it. But it was not till his body got to the coroner when they were like literally trying to dress it up for a funeral, the funeral home called the police.
They found the catheter?
They found the catheter. And they were like,
Is this like a micro catheter?
no, it was pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once the police got tapped again, Cynthia Dreher started, his ex-wife, launched her own investigation and was like, wait a second, this isn't adding up. Before he passed away, he even said at lectures, if I die, I'm not killing myself. I've been shot. I've been attacked. Somebody doesn't want me talking about this stuff, blah, 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 right? And look, David Crush came forward with that congressional hearing recently, and they asked him, do you know, I think it was Tim Burchett, do you know of anybody that has been threatened, or their lives have been threatened, or they have been?
He said, I can't.
And he
I'm
says,
not comfortable. Yeah.
he says, yes, I have.
No, he did say yes.
He said
but,
yes.
But he said, I gave that to the relevant authorities, and I'm not going to speak on that in this spot, right?
I think he said something like that after, but the initial was people have died and people have been threatened and hurt. And he said, I have been, like, me and my family have also been targeted with these activities. So, it just brings back, to like the Phil Schneider story. Was he actually killed? I don't know. But he was talking about some pretty out there stuff that were building up a sort of mimetic at that time notoriety, and people wanted to hear him at conferences, and they were traveling all around the United States to see him, and then he died. And there's a guy named Anthony Sanchez that wrote UFO Highway. He said that he spoke to a colonel that actually was a director of managing the Los Alamos laboratories, and
Like Oppenheimer?
kind of like that, but like a colonel. And it's almost like reading science fiction, so don't quote me on this being completely true, but I read the book, and if it is true, this guy says that he actually gave documents to Phil Schneider right before he passed away. Like, he saw Phil Schneider. Okay, imagine you're somebody today that works for DHS or works for the Navy or something, and you've got some information you want to push disclosure. So you go to Jeremy Corbell, or you go to Andy here, and you give them the goods. That's essentially what that story is about. It's like somebody saw Phil Schneider speaking and like making a grassroots movement, becoming popular. And then this guy was like, I'm going to give him the documents to prove everything he's talking about. And Cynthia talks about it in my early documentary that like the room looked like it was raided when the police like went through and found the body. His face was head down in his wheelchair, right?
He was in a wheelchair too?
He was not well.
But he strangled himself with a catheter cord?
With no fingers.
With no fingers.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, so there's way.
Worse than Epstein.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Yeah. I mean, people have argued that you could technically wrap a catheter cord around your throat and tie it tight, and then do a ton of drugs and pass out. But that's
not how I would go.
No, it's not a great way to go. But if he was suffering, maybe he wanted to do that. I'm not saying it's beyond the realm of possibility, but that's something Cynthia Dreher was trying to track down. She wanted to get the autopsy report from his death and find out the toxicology of his blood and urine samples, so they could understand what drugs were in his system at the time, so they could find out if he had done it or not. And as she says, and as it's marked on the autopsy report, they said, the results were inconclusive. She never got the blood or urine samples. They said they lost them.
Oh, convenient.
Right? And then on top of that, in the newspaper, they said he died of natural causes. Like, there was just like all these weird things.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.